All right, thanks so much. Alongside Anthony DiComo of MLB.com. And Anthony, the vibe's been really good here the first couple of weeks, and I'd say they still are, but for the first time there's at least a little blip. We don't know how big of a blip to this upcoming Mets season, with Carlos Mendoza coming out today, and actually the last question of his press conference being asked about Kodai Senga, revealing that Kodai Senga was not out there today because he was experiencing arm fatigue after throwing yesterday.
Yeah, and kudos to the Japanese media down here for spotting that. They are tasked with following Kodai Senga's every move, and noticed that he wasn't out there today, and that was the reason why, a little bit of arm fatigue, which, Steve, I'll be honest, I think is kind of code for we don't really know yet. It's not what you want to hear this time of year. I am told the early indications are not that serious with Kodai Senga, but he is due to get testing probably this afternoon. The Mets should know more tonight or into Thursday. But, Steve, it's Kodai Senga. It's an arm issue. You never want to hear that, especially this type of year. He is so important to what the Mets do, and while they have built more depth in their rotation, he's the one guy I think you consider, with his ceiling, pretty irreplaceable.
Yeah, I think, when you look at this Mets season in general, I understand that there's a wide range of ways that it can go, but there's really a handful of players that are pretty irreplaceable, and Kodai Senga is right at the top of that list. So that being said, there is no replacement for Kodai Senga if this does turn out to be a serious issue, and again, we have no idea at this point in time. But I do think that when you look forward, and I don't know how far into the future, but at some point this season, one of the things that the Mets feel pretty good about for the first time in a long time is their starting pitching depth at the upper levels of the minor leagues. Guys that really burst onto the scene last year, and I think this spring, the one guy that's standing out above the rest is Christian Scott.
Yeah, he's a true prospect. He's not in that group of Tyler McGill and Joey Lucchesi you could call up in a pinch right now. But Christian Scott might be the guy that the Mets are most excited about in terms of starting pitching. This time of year, I get asked a lot, what are you seeing out there? What is most impressive to you out on the backfields? And it's a tough question to answer because this is practice. It's hard to really distinguish yourself. And yet, Christian Scott kind of has. Watching his live BP the other day, he's out there facing big league hitters, Jeff McNeil, DJ Stewart. DJ Stewart shot him a couple of looks during some of his pitches. Really tied him up on a couple of those breaking balls. The velo is there for Christian Scott. Talking to some of the Mets officials around here, of that group of guys who were in Double-A last year, Dominic Hamill, Mike Vassell, Christian Scott among them as well. I think Scott is the one who is highest right now on the depth chart in terms of what the team is thinking about him. He has some real potential to be the next guy of import in this rotation.
Yeah, to your point, talking to some Mets officials, I was in the clubhouse the other day, and I was speaking to somebody, and he just pointed over to Christian Scott, and he said, that kid right there, I think he might be the real deal. So we'll see. I think at some point in 2024, Christian Scott has a real chance to make an impact and pitch at the big league level. But again, that's for another day. Right now, the main concern, what's going on with Kodai Senga, and quite frankly, we won't know that for a little while, so we'll keep you updated when we do. That's it from Port St. Lucie.